Today on Uncommonly Good MTG, we are going to be taking a look back at my top 5 favorite decks from February 2023. Can you handle this knowledge without your head exploding? Stick around to find out. Hello and welcome to Uncommonly Good MTG. I'm your host, voted best looking dude you've never seen by your mom, Dr. You can't suck it. Yes, thank you. Filmed before a live studio audience. Thank you so much. You can't suck it. Word to your mother. So I'm broadcasting to you once again from my, say it with me, secret underground headquarters. I heard you. And today is Top 5 Favorite Decks Day. Today we're looking back at February 2023, and we're going to be listing off those decks that I thought were my favorite to play. All right, as far as the stats for February 2023, I played a total of 527 games in the 28 days of February. 527 games. And that was 68 different decks. 68 different decks, okay. So doing the math on that, it turns out I played roughly 2.3 decks per day. That 0.3 was very rough. 2.3, 2 to third decks per day. And I played 19 games per day, which roughly equals about 8 games per deck. So, not so hard. Considering somebody that actually has a full-time job on the side of trying to put together a decent Magic card video. So that's what you do. That's how you get it all together. That's the amount of work you put in. For a lot of you who think 527 games in 28 days, amateur time, right? Yep, that's what I am, just an amateur. I don't get paid for this, so this is all just a labor of love. But that's how many games go into putting together a month here at Uncommonly Good MTG. And what did we find? Well, we got 5 decks on the list. But first, let's talk about what makes a deck a favorite list. All right, so I'll put up the chart here. This is what makes a deck a favorite list. Number 1, the deck has to have a decent chance at winning. I'm not going for the gold here. I'm not going to be number 1 in the world. I'm just going to be a guy that likes to play the decks I like to play. But the one thing that a deck has to do is it has to have a decent chance at winning against the current meta. If it loses all the time, that kind of sucks. I don't like being a troll who comes in and loses, but spends the whole time making it miserable for somebody else. My deck has to have a chance of winning. I'm looking for that. Number 2, it needs to put up a good fight. So even if the deck isn't a big time winner, but to me it has to be like over 50%. But if it is going to lose, it has to have put up a good fight along the way. I want it to be to where at the end that if I didn't lose or if I didn't win, I would have won on the next turn had I just gotten one more turn. That's what I'm looking for, is something that's going to put up a good fight, is going to have that chance of winning, and I feel like I've actually been playing. That's what I want to see. Getting counterspelled is just horrible. And that's what I hate playing against blue because of that kind of stuff. I want to fight. I want it to happen. And these decks need to do that. Number 3, the cards in the deck or the synergy of the cards that are in the deck needs to be interesting. So you can put together a deck that might win, and it just has a bunch of stupid, boring cards in it that don't do anything other than you play them and they do stuff, and then you win. But I want to see interesting plays. I want my cards to have some sort of zazz to it. And if it's not specifically a card, it's the interaction between cards, that synergy that builds towards something greater and better. That's what I'm looking for in a really cool deck. It's going to be one of my favorites. So those are the big 3 rules. I do give bonus points, though, for decks that have a big finish. And a big finish is going to be something like, you've been fighting. The other guy is sitting there, maybe he's got 10 life left. You're down to like 4 or 5. And then you play that card that gives all your dudes like, I don't know, 30 things of power and trample. And they can't do anything about it. They thought that they had this game in hand. They thought they at least had another 2 or 3 more turns, that nothing could happen. And then suddenly, super trample happens. That's what I'm looking for. God, I love that stuff. That is the sweet spice of life. So anyways, that is the qualifications for what makes a deck a favorite deck for me. And now let's go and see what they are. Touching her. I'm touching her. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. And we will Skitterbeam. Now he thinks he's got options. He touched his cards. He doesn't have anything going on. All right. Next to attackers, we'll send the card that way and the 2 tokens straight at his face. Nice! So here we are looking at Koth's Battalion. And, this was such a good deck. One of the things I liked about it was just that it's like this is the first time after BO1 came out that we're swinging back to the Brothers War. And we're playing with, like Steel Seraph, Cityscape Leveler, Skitterbeam Battalion, Portal Phyrexia. I mean, I guess this is really just what we're, one of the old decks. But with Koth in here, it really adds so much more. Illiterate that's Brothers War as well. Yeah. So what is, Elish Norn is the other one. So I knew that there was something to this deck. So what I like about it is that it is a Brothers War deck, but that we bring in Elish Norn and Koth, the Fire of Resistance, really, really make it something different than before. And it kind of blends those 2 sets together and puts together a really good Boros deck. What I like about it big time with Koth is the fact that he can go out and get some more mountains. Mountain. And if you're desperate, the number of creatures you got, you can do that much damage. And then plus his -7, whenever a mountain enters the battlefield and you control, deals 4 points of damage to any target. Fantastic. Elish Norn with doubling any into the battlefield effects that you have and removing any from anybody else. Man, that is so good. So in reality, it's nice having a really steady Boros deck that works its way up and has plenty of good effects, making use of both Brothers War and BO1 cards. Do. Those are instants, though. That should be nice. What does this do? Exile target creature has mana value 3 or less. Nothing! You get nothing! And I win! Suck it, mirror match! Victory! Dimir Poison Control. So, this is weird that this deck made my favorites list because it kind of violates a lot of the things that I love about decks. Number one, it doesn't have any creatures. It doesn't have any. So there's no fighting, there's no attacking. But the reason why it made my favorites deck list is because it's so interesting. It just bucks the norm when it comes to the poison cycle. Like right now, I think that Selesnya probably has it hands down as being the deck that handles poison the best. You get your dudes out, you just can, you got the Rot Priest that you can do anything to anybody and it makes him they're arousing poison counters like crazy. But getting away from that, you got this deck. And I really like the fact that it kills by poison. You're not doing any damage whatsoever. And so what you're doing is you're just controlling the board, keeping yourself from dying, while you slowly poison your opponent by all the different effects you do to take out his creatures. So that's what I really like about this deck, is that it's kind of like almost like mill to a certain degree. It's like you just sort of give up on the rest of the way that everybody plays a game, and you just play your own game. So it's definitely a great deck from that perspective. It lacks the bloodlust that I'm looking for, usually. But if I'm looking for something a little bit more control-y, this deck really has what it takes. Come on, ramp deck. You can do it for me. There it is. All right, so we're going to do this. Cheater in. Put out a baby. Oh, I can destroy that. That sounds even better. I'm going to bushwhack. Suck it, suckerfish. And we win. That's how mono green does it. Victory. So right here we're looking at the mono green ramp deck. And what is it that I like about it? I like the fact that we have like the armored scrap gorger in there. I like that one because it gives you that extra mana. It has the potential to grow up to be a 3/3. But until that point, every time you're tapping it, you're getting rid of something out of a graveyard. And you just can't overestimate how good graveyard, pinpoint graveyard destruction of cards is very powerful. Because they've really leveraged graveyard recursion nowadays. The thing is I'm a little bored with this section here. Augur of Autumn, Defiler of Vigo, Topiary Stomper, but they are so good they have to be in this deck. Now, the place where this deck really shines to me, Thrun. Thrun. I just love saying that. I just can imagine over and over again. Thrun. Thrun. He can't be countered. He's got trample. He's a 5/5. He can't be the target of non-green spells. Or the abilities from non-green sources your opponents control. And as long as your turn, he's got indestructible. Man, this guy is the beast. I mean, of course he can get into a fight and die, right? It's just, he can't, it's hexproofy kind of things he's got to watch out that he doesn't have to worry about. I really think he's special. I think he could be a great cornerstone for a lot of things. And then this is the deck where I really thought that Nissa worked really well. The fact that the +1 ability puts out a super jacked, green Phyrexian Horror token is so good. Destroying target artifact. I mean, all of her abilities are top notch, but the -7, which is something she comes out with if you pay full price for her. All your creatures get +1/+1 for each forest you control and trample. That is an in-game move right there. You got 7 mana, you put her out, and you use her ability, and you win. You win, provided you got enough creatures in play. But this deck provides it. This deck provides. By the time you get up to 7, more likely Topiary Stomper's ready to go. He's just waiting for all that. Between Nissa and Defiler of Vigo, they are just passing out the modifications like crazy. So this deck just has that bomb that I love at the end of a deck. This deck is ready to provide and does a good job of holding up between the start of the game until you're just ready to lay that bomb down. You have to stand and defend. It means you're losing. All attack! We're going in on Goblin style, baby. No math! You should try to kill the reinforced Ronins. Those are the real deals. I'm not, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus we got 2 more off of that one. Down to 3. So this is Skitterbeam Reactor, and it was one of the last decks I played before the Obi-Wan set came out. And I thought it was so strong. It really brought together everything I loved at that point. And it has such a glorious place in my heart. It is so good. Because, I mean, look at this. We got Skitterbeam Battalion, and we got Mechanized Warfare. The Dragon Spark Reactor, which I think was the big thing that really brought me together on this one. I just loved the fact that we're playing so many artifacts. Rabbit Battery, Ronin, Bank Buster. We're putting out tokens from the treasure troll there. So that way this thing would be sitting there just bing, 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 getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And if we really needed it by mid to late game, this would be a ginormous source of damage that we could... It deals damage equal to the number of charge counters on its target player, and that much damage up to 1. I mean, it's just a fantastic end-of-game bomb, which is exactly what I'm looking for in a deck. Great early play, moves into great mid-play, and then a bomb at the end to finish things off. Fantastic. This is just one of... I mean, the only reason why it's not my favorite deck is just because it is before Obi-Wan, and February is all about the release of Obi-Wan. But this was... I mean... It just came in too late for January's list, and it's been like a month. Otherwise, I mean, this deck is just so incredibly good. All right, let's go, Widgemaster. Here we go. All in for 4. All right, we're gonna pop that guy. Put this back in my hand. And we're cool. I want to have that 2 open so we can do some more killing. That's a guy that needs to be killed. Fast. And we win! In your face, Charlie Brown! As we are looking at Rakdos Goblins, my favorite deck of February. The reason why for those of you who maybe have been paying attention to this channel for not as long, is I've always have 3 categories, which is it competitive, is it fun, is it interesting? Well, it used to be, is it competitive, is it fun, does it have strong theme? Is it tribal? Tribal was one of my favorite things. If it was a tribal deck, it got as big a point as just being a fun deck. I had to get rid of it because they started really jerking around the tribal thing. I had to just go for whether it's interesting or not. But so the fact that we got tribal, we got a good tribe back, and it was goblins. Goblin tribal deck, and it was so good. It wasn't, I don't know, like 100% wins all the time. It's not red deck wins, but still it is plenty winning enough for me to live with the theme and just go to town, listening to my inner goblins just squealing with joy as they rush over to rip things apart. It's nice that these are kind of mixed together, the artifacts a little bit too. This deck, it seems like it's a great deck for building off of and doing other things with. I'm actually a little disappointed with myself that I haven't swung back to it. You don't really see goblin decks out there, and I thought this one was really entertaining. So yeah, maybe I'll have to make a point within March to see if we can't spice it up a little bit and replay the Goblin Tribal again. All right, so that is my list of the top 5 favorite decks of February 2023. Did you agree with my selections? I'm sure that everyone's got a different opinion. Mine aren't based entirely upon statistics. They're just based on what makes me happy. So if you disagreed and have something else that you like better, go ahead and voice your opinions in the comments below. Otherwise, look forward to March's list at the end of this month. Have a good one, everyone.